Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 16 of GamersGalaxie. I've got my boy WT here with me. How are you, mate?
Good. How's the foot feeling, brother?
Yeah, it came back. I was a bit naughty on holidays, so ate some bad food.
Yep, that'll do it. The holidays always get you. I'm a victim of that myself at times.
Yeah, the wife's about to have our first. So she wanted to. There's a thing called a baby moon. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of. Oh, is that where they're more likely to have it because like the pressure of the world or something like that?
No, it's like instead of a honeymoon, you have a baby moon. So before your baby comes, you go on a holiday because it's the last one you'll have without your child for a long time. So
Oh, okay. Now I haven't
yeah,
heard that term, but yeah, I've heard the concept. So very cool. Very exciting time for you and your family.
I heard about it about 6 hours before we left. So I didn't even know we were going away. That's how much of the control of the relationship I've got. So
Nice.
okay, boss, we're going. It was pretty cool though. We went down to a place called Jervis Bay. It's a beautiful area in Australia. It's about 2.5 hours south of Sydney,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a beautiful day and the world's whitest sand. You know, all the white sand beaches claim that. And you know, saw had some lunch on this really nice picturesque spot, and then went and did some glamping. You know what glamping is?
No,
Never
I
heard of that
don't.
either.
Mm-mm.
It's like a really posh tent put onto the side of a half building sort of thing. So, but it's not camping. You got a proper bed in there and everything. But it is a tent, but
Wow.
it's pretty tall one. Yeah. So you got a cook. You got a cooking oven in that there, and yeah. So we had some fish and chips in the morning and yeah, came back. So spent 24 hours, about a bit over 24 hours, um, just having one final weekend before the bub comes.
Oh, nice. Cool. I'm learning all kinds of cool stuff from you today.
I only learned about him 2 days ago, mate.
Oh, all right. Well, we're both learning.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Anyway, so as you can tell, I've been a little bit preoccupied in the last month. I've been a bit my slowest month of activity on keeping up to date with Immutable. So I'm going to need to rely on your bit today, mate, to talk about. So let's get into it. What's been happening on Immutable for the last? I think it's been 2 weeks since we've done this. So
Yeah, looks like they've got Danu Games unveiling Avalon. It's a multi-chain MMORPG. Looks pretty vast. They got a decent number of Twitter followers, 25,000. Game looks pretty slick. I'm very interested at where they're going to go with this, and I like that they're going cross-chain. And obviously I like they're on IMX. What do you know
yeah,
about it?
yeah, I saw them, and they I've told you before, and other people on this show that I don't think multi-chain. It's like saying I'm going to have a SQL database, and I'm going to have a NoSQL database, and I might go with this new thing called document. Like it's like why? Just choose one and build a cool game. But if they, I kind of get it. They do it because they think, they're going to in this current market where it's limited to the chain maxis. They're trying to scoop up everyone. But for me, it has the opposite effect. I'm not. I don't have much interest in you if you're going to be on multiple chains. It's just, I think it's a gimmick. I want to play a cool game. That my complete motivation to play the game is because it's fun, and if it is that, then I'll give it a go, I guess. But I'll need to rely on other people to tell me because multi-chains. The funny thing is, his comment was that they posted was that he thinks that Immutable is going to win, and he's on 4 other chains. The game they built on 4 other chains before Immutable. So they said, "Oh, it's pretty clear that Immutable is going to be the home of gaming." So Interesting take.
Where did he say that at? Like on a Twitter space or something? Or
It was written down on the. Sometimes they do the comment,
yeah,
like the mutable post the comment of what the founders say, and that's what he said.
very interesting.
So
Very interesting.
I've been trying to tell people that for 2 years, mate. No one listens to me.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I saw your comment, Kagi Jan. He was pumping in his bags and Ronan saying it's going to go ballistic and all this stuff. It's
That
like,
guy. That guy.
yeah, I got him. He complained about me once. So he said, I don't want to hear, like, this guy just comes into my thing as it doesn't even follow me. I'm like, well, you don't follow me. I don't really like what you say. Most of the time, I'm always arguing with you. So I just put him on mute because, like, if he doesn't want me to talk to him, if he doesn't want to hear a dissenting opinion to his own, then
Well,
I'll grant him that.
he was talking about the comment you seen was in reference to what he was saying, but then in another tweet he was calling out some other influencer for the only reason why he's talking about IMX is because he's pumping his own bags, and I get that happens in this space, but like he is like the king of pumping his own bags. So I'm just like, what? And I haven't heard anything like at all about the Ronin. I wouldn't even know what was going on with the Ronin network if it wasn't for you, because you fill me in from time to time. Like, I don't see anything out there like how they're progressing, who they're making business deals with. And then I look at IMX and like, oh yeah, by the way, we're just, collabing with Amazon now. Like nothing to see here. It's the differences of what is being produced with other networks versus IMX. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an IMX fan. It's like, I just don't see the marketing and the collabs that other networks are doing in this gaming space.
And you're not, I've known you before. You were even into Immutable as much as you are. Like, you were into Solana, Polygon. Yeah, you had a couple other chains that you all utilized. You don't have any bias at all with chains. You just like good projects. And so for that coming from you is, to me, is like people that are actually doing the research are starting to see that Immutable's building the best tools, the best game development hub, the best place to build games. And it's slowly starting to show now, with across the ages going, getting huge. The games coming out with their, like, a couple of games we'll talk about today as well, but Space Nation, the ones that all these gameplay things that have come. So, Ronins, they built like a DeFi tool, their own DeFi tool, and they spent so long it took so long to build it that it ended up meaning their game died because it needed more content to consume users, and they've got some things right, like they built a socials login thing, but it's not. And they've got their marketplace that that's their own ecosystem. They've got those people that bought into them early on, and they've got invested lots of money. They've got really good engagement with their fans and creative content creators. I think they'll survive because they've done a lot of things right. I think they'll be one of the top 10 to survive in the next 2 years. But will they beat out Solana, Immutable, Sui, Arbitrum?
I haven't heard anything about Arbitrum in forever. I haven't heard anything about them in forever. And like, I'm not saying Ronin's trash. I'm not saying that at all.
I forgot Avex.
Yeah, I'm not saying Ronin is trash at all. I just to come out and say like that what he said, it baffles me. And Polygon's got some good context going on now that I think about it. And Solana just did something where they're getting tested by Visa, I think it is, and I know Polygon's hooked up with a couple brands. So my point is like all these networks are new. They're all trying things. And if you're not doing something with big collabs with like these big players in the space, you might want to start to, because I think the people that are doing them with it are going to have a leg up. And I don't see that with some of these. And for him to come on and be like, oh yeah, he's just doing it because he's pumping bags and he's the king of pump bags. It just blew me away. But I don't want to make this all about him.
Yeah, no, but I do think this conversation is relevant because it's the frustration I've got is that the reason I started this content piece on Immutable is that I could not believe that there's just no one talking about them until recently. There's been a lot more recently. But when I first started doing it, there was no one, literally no one talking about Immutable and what they're doing. And they get all these so-called influencers that are, calling for this chain going to be the greatest, and they've won 20 games, and 15 of them are like indie, low-budget games, and there's probably 2 games they've got, I think, that seem to be okay. That sounds like they might be winning TreeVerse, which would be massive for them if they won that.
Oh yeah.
But I'd be surprised if Lupify does go that way. To be honest with you, he's a big eth guy, and the fact that Immutable was in the running, and I'm pretty sure the zkVM and the ability to write contracts in eth native and just copy paste over to Immutable, I'm sure that'll lure him in. I'll be surprised if he doesn't go with Immutable now, but because understanding who he is. But anyway, the point is that there's this massive, in the bubble of Web3, there's this massive push for Ronin, but they just haven't taken off, even though they've had the head start with that massive player base. So we'll see.
Sorry, go ahead. Didn't Ronin have that huge hack too? Not a long time ago, by the way.
Yeah, it was only 600 million.
Yeah, how many has IMX had?
0.
Yeah, that's my point. Hacked. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a bit sidetracked there. I don't know why. It was that tweet that we engaged in.
Yeah.
I actually when I replied, you can click on the names, and I unticked his name so he didn't see my reply.
Oh.
So,
whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with the guy. Anyway, cool.
You brought this up to me. I'm gonna have to lean on you for this. SkiesVerse looks like a. Oh my gosh!
No, it's not SkiesVerse. It's not SkiesVerse. It's SkiesVerse, which makes it even harder to say. It's like, mate, seriously, it's 2023, almost 24, and you're still calling something verse in your game. Like you can't be serious. Like, welcome to Mutable, SkiesVerse, but seriously, please change the name of your game. It's horrible. Like, I don't know if you're on my side with that, but mate, there's so many games with meta and verse in it. Like, there's so many, hundreds. You're like, hey, I'm just another generic game attached to these hundreds that have got the word verse in their games. Like, it's just yeah.
Yeah, it's got that kind of Borderlands look to their Twitter, at least. Not many followers, only 229. That's a little alarming. I don't know if they're new or just not marketing hard or what, but what kind of style of game is this here? I'm trying to look to see what it is.
So it looks like a desert post-apocalyptic world, and the type of game it is, it's an RPG where there's a map, and on this map you form guilds, and then you conquer other cities and other towns and other holdouts and loot their loot. So it's like something like sounds like it's going to be like Rust, but maybe not a first-person not a first-person shooter. It sounds like it's going to be an RPG rather than a first-person shooter. Could be pretty interesting if they do. If it is AAA, if it's indie, then it might be a little bit. It just depends on how good their how in depth and how immersive it becomes, because it could be a cool game. It's really good for and the token is actually also like you can't form a guild without holding their token. So that's a really interesting thing I've never heard before. So to start the guild, you have to have a certain amount of tokens and then hold them to maintain the guild. So that's a way of stopping people from selling them and forming guilds.
So I gotta take a warranted shot at them right off the bat. So you and me, we dig into this stuff. We're a little bit more lenient because we dig and there's something wrong with us. But anybody that comes to their Twitter right now, you've got to tell people what you are in the simplest form. It should be in their main bio, action RPG or something. They don't have anything like that, and that drives me nuts with games. There's so many games, there's so many projects out there. You got a limited amount of time with people coming and looking at your project, probably like 10 seconds, and they need to know what you are, and it's not even in their bio, and that drives me up the wall. Sorry, SkiesVerse, but you got to step up your game on that, man.
Yeah, we've been a bit critical, like a little bit skeptical and critical. I didn't mean to come across that way. Like I know nothing about the game. There is a link on their Twitter to their website, so you can go
Right.
there and see a little bit more. But still, I've been on it for like 5 minutes just for this episode, and I have had to do to get a understanding of it. It's it's not. It wasn't simple. It doesn't look about the game. Click on it, and there's a paragraph about us. And sweet. I'm interested in this. I want to dig. I want to dig deeper. It made me dig, and a lot more in the tokens and how they're going to push the tokens around and who gets what percentage and all those kind of things. The typical Web3. So they seem very Web3 focused and heavy, rather like DeFi style, of game. That's my concern. Like there's, we don't know how, just because you build on a middle doesn't make you an instant, your motivations around making a great game. I am on team game. I would rather have a game with no token and you can get skins that are NFTs and that's it. Than a game that's DeFi focused. But I also think a balance between those two is where my happy house will be. Somewhere where it gets the DeFi side right. It adds value, but it's not the focus of the game. It's the game that's the focus.
Right.
And when I love that game, the DeFi makes me go, wow, that's awesome as well. Right. Because you're not going to get me to play the game because the DeFi is awesome.
Yep. I did go to their website. Did that while you were talking there. They do have it, apocalyptic tactical RPG. So, grats. I'm glad they did that. I didn't mean to be so harsh on them. It's just like, I'm looking at their Twitter. I'm like, what are you? So, they've got it on their website. Yeah. Hats off to them on
that. No, and it's early days. So this is a game that Kagi, going back to Kagi, he would like this game because he's massive. You hear him comment all the time that play to earn is his favorite spot. So yeah, get on. He does like games as well, though. I used to watch him tweet. So this one could be a good one. Strategy, RPG, fun. Build up your team. You get your guild going, and conquer bases and get more loot, sort of thing with your team. Big wars against each other. How they balance that would be interesting. That's a challenge. It's a real challenge for any game, let alone a Web3 game.
Yep.
I played Guild Wars. I don't know if you've ever heard of Guild Wars. No, it's not. It's Web2, and it was like, the coordinated gangs would just take over the whole map. In no time. So you needed to, and then you'd log on, and that coordinated gang would be holding everything you got. Yeah, I'll wait till they go to bed. Turn off and come back on later. Right. So it's really hard to balance those games. So I'll be interested to see how it goes. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
So we've been a little bit critical of it there, don't we? Hopefully they don't come across that way too much because it's early days. They're a young team.
Hey, it's meant to be constructive of how to help them out. That's what it is. So.
Yeah. And the roadmap it looks like it's due out pretty soon. The 1.0 release of the game, quarter 2, 2024. So another 6 months, 8 months, 9 months away before we can play it. What looks of it. Yeah, the stuff out.
I like the genre. I definitely like the genre. I've always liked that, apocalyptic style, desert wasteland. It reminds me of Borderlands. I'm a huge fan of Borderlands. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's a shooter. I think I'm pretty certain it's going to be like a strategy game.
Right.
You can see there's like grid. You can see like the hex map. Mm-hmm. So it's like strategical RPG, but more than an action real time game.
Right. Yeah, I see all that. I meant the culture of the wastelands, apocalyptic, that Borderlands has.
Yeah.
I love that back setting.
The comedy as well is pretty cool, and the art style is pretty cool of Borderlands. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it looks like it's a hex-based strategical RPG. So interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last night I had to jump on and try it. I hadn't tried it yet, so I messaged you. I jumped on Token Trove, and I tried out the passport, and man, was it fast, and it worked. And I love seeing it just spun up a web address from my email. And if I didn't know anything about web addresses, I wouldn't have even noticed it.
Yeah. No, I noticed that. It's interesting that they've implemented it already. So were you able to put funds onto a passport yet, or was it just for show?
It looked like I could. I mean, I didn't try it. I did it late last night before I went to bed. It's like, I meant to check this out. I just threw in an email and click, 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 and boom, there's my wallet address up in the right hand corner that I noticed. It showed zero balance in the profile. So
Hmm.
looks like it worked to me, and it was the speed of it and just the ease of it was exciting for me to go through that process.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool when they implement the profile part of it as well, and the Steam style application to it as well, which means that I'll be able to like the next game we're going to talk about, Ember Sword. It's got its alpha playtest, the dungeon, the deep, ultra deep dungeon, and I logged on today to have a game, and what I would do to have a Steam like add friend just to be able to invite them. So you know what I mean? Like I could
Mm-hmm.
just say have you on my passport and as a contact and say send you if you're online at the moment, I'd send you an invite just like Steam to come play Dota with me or come play this. You log into the game and on Steam and you hit invite and you can just invite everyone that's online with one click. And because I got up to the final boss or the first boss on my own, and took about 15 minutes, and I'd only done about 5% damage to him. And I was like, I'm gonna get out. I'm done here. I'm not gonna continue on with this. But yeah. So that's one thing Passport's going to solve is that um, you know, that connect that. Where do you go right now to get a Web3 friend to play a game? Like nowhere. Like
Right.
maybe you got to join a guild, and they're so fragmented. You know what I mean? Like, do I join Own? Do I join Game 3 GG? Like or one of the actual gamer guilds, like or a DAO like Eth Lizards. Like I just want to be able to play with everyone that plays immutable games that I get on with, and just add them to my friend list. And when I play immutable games, most of them are going to be free, so everyone can play them.
You bring up a really good point there about that. I haven't even thought about that yet because we're so early in this whole process. But like, for me, I'm an Xbox player. It's nice when I go on my Xbox and I can see if any of my friends are playing, and I can send them an invite to a game and all that. And what you just said, yeah, that would be huge. That would just be absolutely huge in the space for them to have that uh,
Well, it's coming.
ease of
It's
social
not.
interaction, I guess is what it would be called.
Yeah, it's coming. It's not a pipe dream. I've tested it.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's pipe dream. I'm just like
Yeah. Yeah.
whenever it gets unveiled and it's working correctly, it's going to be a game changer, and that's a great point that you bring up.
Hmm. But passport. We've talked about it a lot over the last 15 episodes for this one, but I see comments from people about, oh, this is, like, this is immutable passport. It's going to make onboarding so much frictionless, so much easier. Well, that's really just a very small part of it. That's like, everyone can do that now. If you're building a game and you don't have a magic wallet of some kind, there's something wrong with you. Like, you've got to, as you saw how hard it is to play Polygon games. It's got the biggest ecosystem of games, but it's just so hard and clunky. The old DPoS solution, not the new ZK VM I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There's like you got to create this wallet. You got to get tokens onto it. Like it's impossible to get someone to play the game.
Right.
So like it's that's why games leave it and go to somewhere else, because now they've finally got Sequence, I believe, on board doing their stuff for them on the DPoS side of things, but. Immutable passport, they thought about this from first principles. What the gamers need, what the developers need. A wallet that enables in-game transactions, so people in-game can purchase things. You can walk up to a character in a game at a shop and say buy, and it buys. It goes to your wallet.
Right.
And then that's the in-game, that's the functionality of it. They're all interconnected. One login, one wallet, one address, and then the ability to tap on your secondary wallets that are MetaMasks and things like that if you want to. So at least you can have access to those things for read only. So if you want to put stuff into a cold wallet, you can put it into a cold wallet, and therefore no one can touch it and steal it because it's in your Trezor. But your passport can link to it, so that at least if you need to identify that you own it to have certain access in a game or certain pet values in a game, you can still use it. You won't be able to sell it unless you move it to your passport, but you won't be. But you still can utilize it. So if you know that you've bought something that you're never going to sell, like a skin, like a CS:GO skin for gun that you spent 400 grand on it, you can put it in your Trezor, lock it up, and still use it without having to put it onto your passport in the more riskier spot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then there's the machine learning that they've built to prevent fraud. So it detects certain things about your behaviors, and if something goes out of the ordinary on a big transaction, they'll block it. And they'll make you jump through hoops to make sure that you're the right person doing that. There's going to be warning systems, I assume, as well. I assume they'll put in eventually, like you'll get text to say, someone's trying to do a transfer on your phone. Is that you? Kind of thing, like 2FA sort of thing.
Yep.
If all of a sudden some weird address wants to sell all your stuff, it's not going to let it happen. And then there's what you just talked about, the social side of it. And then there's other things as well that I've tested for them, like achievements and things like that, and gamification on the passport side.
Awesome.
I think I'll cover.
I'm glad you brought up the security aspect of it too. As Robbie always says, security's paramount, and yeah, you got to have that, because the second that you don't, people will run. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Ronan.
Yeah. You know what? What the funny thing is, what's that guy's name from Limit Break? Gabriel Layden. You know him?
Don't know the name, no.
So there's a game called Game of War. I don't know if you've ever heard it before.
Oh, I know very well about that game.
Well, he built that. He's a really smart guy, and he's a fast-speaking American. You know those types.
Mm-hmm.
In your homeland.
Mm-hmm.
They know the gift of the gab, know what to say, sales. And, I know someone that spent 70 grand a month on that game. And
oh my goodness.
Lost their marriage, lost their business, lost everything. And, I wasn't friends with him. I actually did business with him through his company, when I was in business. So that's how I knew him.
Mm-hmm.
But I got introduced by a friend that played Game of War. And I got him off Game of War to play Clash of Clans. I said, mate, you don't have to spend $1,000 a month here. You can spend $1,000 for your whole game or nothing and still play. And he changed over to, I got him off his addiction. And then he told me about this guy that spent it. So, he's the king of milk and money. And he came into a thread once and just ripped on passports, saying no one will know that they're, this is early days. This is a couple of months ago, before anyone knew too much about it and what was coming. He ripped on a passport, saying that the gist of what he was trying to say was that you're not going to get any network effects from it because no one's going to know they're on passport because of the passwordless login without their account. So I'd like to see what he's got to say now once he finds out about what it actually really is.
Right?
Or if it was just the fast talk and sales talk, because he's building a competitor to Immutable. Obviously, he didn't get $200 million to him granted to him to do nothing.
Oh wow, that's quite a bit.
Yeah. Huh. Limit Break. They're building. They're that Digi and all the Super Bowl ad one. That's him.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that. Yeah. I was big into Game of War, and yes, you're right about. I believe that number you threw out about 70 grand a month. I played with this one guy. He just had unlimited resources, and you knew he was spending money. And I just asked him, like, "What do you do?" And just curious. And he's like, "Oh, I run a diamond mine out of some place in Africa." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
All right.
No, this guy was doing well. He was making a lot of money, but he was blowing the whole lot on that game.
That game wasn't even that good. Looking back at it now, it's like, oh my gosh, why did I play that so much? I actually farmed that game too for a little while. I found a way to gather resources and sell them online. It was kind of cool.
Dodgy.
Yeah, but then I think they got sick of it though, because they hyperinflated the economy. So they made resources almost the amount you had to spend to get resources was absolutely ridiculous, and there was no way I could farm that much. So they hyperinflated me out of the economy.
Yeah, I call it predatory design. Wasn't
Oh,
even a
big time.
game. Anyway, did you get a chance to play Ember Swords Dungeon?
No, but I looked at it and very dungeon crawler esque. Looked really cool. It reminded me of several things that I thought I was getting into, and yeah, looked pretty cool. I'm gonna have to go check that out for sure.
So the exciting thing about Ember Sword is the developer is like super passionate about games. He was in games his whole life, and he wasn't a game developer. He's built a professional team to build this, and like he's not the designer. He's got his vision, and he's brought in an expert team, and they're probably one of the best development teams in Web3, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
They've built their own engine, like Unreal Engine, Unity, all those kind of engines, like that level of engine,
Oh, nice.
which is that. So because none of them could do what they wanted to do, and so he believed that browser based is the future because anyone can access from anywhere. So they designed it so that any phone, any browser, anywhere can run it. And they've built the engine because no engine could do what they wanted to do. And they've cracked this nut that they reckon they can have 25,000 players on the screen at once on a browser, which is unbelievable.
Wow.
They're not there yet, but when they optimize it finally, that's what they believe they'll be able to have. And they showed like models of it being stress tested to show that it could. So yeah, but that's not the exciting part. The exciting part is like the design of the game is really cool. Like, I think you said something. Remember what was it reminded you of something? What
Uh,
was something was supposed to be?
yeah, I wasn't trying to. I was already negative earlier. I'm not gonna be negative anymore. But yeah, it was very dungeon crawler esque, and I didn't know. Ember Sword was going that route. I honestly, and I think it's the last podcast. Kagi was pumping this game pretty hard a while ago, and so I just put it out of sight, out of mind, because that's how I feel about recommendations from Kagi. No offense, Kagi, but
You said you weren't going to be negative.
yeah, I know, but I didn't know it was going to be a dungeon
God.
crawler. With the original versions that I seen, I don't recall ever seeing this. So I was looking at it, I was like, oh wow, this looks actually pretty impressive, and yeah, it's got my interest peaked because I do like dungeon crawlers. So I'm gonna definitely check this one out.
Well, I don't think that what you were going to say was negative. You said to me earlier that this is the game what you imagine GOG would be, and it was supposed to be like this game, but
Right.
they've changed and pivoted for whatever reason. It's not easy to build this type of game, and I just explained that they had to build their own engine to get it to work on a browser. But what the cool thing about it is like you don't level up you choose a class and that's it, and you have to level up your skills.
Mm-hmm.
By what item you equip is what skill you get, and then you level up that skill. And then, say for example, if you got a wand, your spells and your abilities will be different to than if you got a sword.
Right.
So when I got a sword and shield and heavy armor, and become a tank. So I had all these tank abilities, and I could spin, and do all these spin attacks and stuff, and But if I chose to be a ranger, I would have got a bow and arrow, and I do damage from range, sort of thing. So you aren't the class. Your items set your class abilities. So that's endless. That's horizontal leveling forever. You can just bring in a zone that requires certain items to be able to conquer it, and so you'd have to go and farm those items, build them, equip them, and then go kill that dungeon, and those items then become useless anywhere else, sort of thing. So which prevents the creep. Like the problem with leveling your character in games is that you get to a level and like you get to the max level and it's called end game, where this here people can join and come and go really fast. I'm sure there's leveling the skills the more you play it,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll keep those levels, so like once you learn to spin whirling, you get to level 5, but that's not your character level, that's just the skill. So your character doesn't get to the end game, you don't defeat it, there constantly be content out, which is new items, which is NFTs, which creates more content for you to grind without having that creep issue that leveling has, where you get too powerful to go back and kill things.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's
So I think
very interesting concept there. Very interesting.
yeah, and this is the first dungeon run they've done. Like the first one I played was above land where you're doing all the your resource gathering, and then you get all those resources, go back to your town, and you craft items, and those items become, you can level them up like by getting more skill at crafting, can make higher level items.
Very cool. Very cool.
It definitely is, and it's an MMO. It's more than a dungeon crawler like GOG was going to be. But what they've released was just an experience in the dungeon, just to show you what dungeon running will be like and get their feedback. Your feedback.
I think what I seen a while
very
ago.
Excited about it.
What I seen a while ago was the MMO part, and I really wasn't feeling it back then. Plus the Kagi referral just didn't do it for me. But yeah, once I seen this dungeon crawler, it's definitely got my interest, and I'm looking forward to see where they go with that for sure. I will have to play it and talk about it a little bit more in detail next time. But there's one out there that just FPS style, QorbiWorld. I know we wanted to talk about that one. They just had their beta.
One Tap, the SPS is that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, QorbiWorld is the company, right?
They're actually a guild, an esports team. They actually won something recently as well. I think it's COD, or I don't know. It's not like it's not CS:GO level. It's not the top tier game, but it's a tier B, like one small rung down from CS:GO and Valorant, and they won. So they're a pretty good esports team, and they're building this One Tap, an indie style shooter game. So it's really under the radar, man. It's seriously under the radar. They were on Solana, and they've come to Immutable about 6 months ago, and they've launched all these eggs. I think I was announcing it back then. I was being like an ambassador for them, but then they finally got some more ambassadors, and I let them, stepped away and let everyone else be an ambassador because I just do it for a bit of help the Immutable ecosystem.
Right.
The funny thing is the games we're talking about today all on Immutable X, not ZK EVM. So QorbiWorld's on Immutable X as well, their stuff. But they've got the beta test on now. You can play it right now. So if you like indie FPSs, get out there and have a go.
Yeah, we need a good FPS in this space for sure. That is something sorely needed because it's such a popular genre, and hopefully they can pull it off. I'd like to see a little bit more about them. And do you know if it's closed beta?
No, I think you need a key, but anyone can apply and get it. So really, I've come unprepared for this because I can't play it because there's no server in Australia. And first-person shooters suck if you don't have a server in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Even an MMO, you can play in Singapore, no worries. It'll be no problem. It doesn't matter about that 0.2 of a second wait for FPS just destroys you. So I tried to play it and I couldn't play it because of the ping.
Gotcha.
We're pretty like 24 million, 26 million people in the middle of nowhere. They're like, yeah, it's 3 billion other gamers elsewhere. We'll worry about them.
Yeah.
We get left out a bit.
Unfortunately, the attention is usually on Asia and then the West in that order when it comes to gaming. It's just where the demand is, supply and demand laws kicking in.
Totally understand that.
But
cool.
I think there was a big update in Gods Unchained, and I'm almost positive you're a big-time Gods Unchained player, right?
Oh, yeah. You missed one, though. We did want to talk about ChronoForge.
Oh! My bad. Missed it.
Go back. Yeah. They had their playtest. I didn't do it because it was a download, like from a Google Drive, and put it on a bloody launcher, please. But the guys are Australian. I interviewed them in this episode 5 or 6 here of this podcast. Really smart guy. They're long away to play test. Had a huge amount of positive results from Twitter, from all these accounts I've never seen before. So they're slowly building momentum. Their game's out early next year sometime. It's Immutable X, not ZKVM as well. So gas-free gaming, that's why they chose Immutable. And their contracts are ready to go. Game is really fun. It's another ARPG with an overworld as well. So it's 2 zones, 2 different styles. Like you can fly around You saw the video.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can put it on if you do the short on this part. You can show the video of them flying around. There, and it's like a really cool ARPG game. I've watched them play live a couple of times. It's like really colorful. It's like Diablo, but more pretty colors. So it's kind of like that style of game.
Right. You brought this up like 10 minutes before we started this podcast, and I had never heard of
My
it.
fault.
Went and looked. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just setting the stage here. I went to their Twitter, and right away, right off the bat, it says multiplayer action RPG built on Immutable X. That's how you do it. If I didn't know anything about this game, I know what it is now. And then I scroll down,
Yeah.
I see the whatever that creature is flying around the world, world overview. It looks like where you go to get to the places that you want to go. You scroll down just a little bit more. They have some really cool art. Looks like possibly they might be doing some cinematics of some sort. And then you scroll down a little more, and they show the kind of top-down dungeon crawler-esque part of the game. And yeah, this one definitely is piquing my interest for sure. I don't know much about it, but just on the gameplay alone, this is what, like, if Guild of Guardians would have been this, holy smokes, like, and I'm not knocking Guild of Guardians. I like what they have now. But, like, this is very polished. It looks very interactive. Like I said, I don't know much about it, but just looking at the gameplay, I'm like, okay, I need to look into this one more. And they have 78,000 followers, always a good sign, so they have some people looking at them.
They were around for a while. They were called PX Quest when they first came out, and they were a little pixelated thing, and I stopped paying attention to them because I didn't like pixelated games. I don't play them. And they, all of a sudden, I just come across them again. I think it was Jonah Blake, and we'll talk about him soon as well. He had a video on Twitter, and I was like, "What's that? ChronoForge?" I thought, and then I looked into it and saw that it was PX Quest. Changed their name, rebranded, and I was like, "What the hell? This is the change. This is awesome." So it's in my top 5 of all Web3 games. This and MberSword are up there in my top 5. I probably like of things that we've seen, and like not concepts of what people are building, but actual things with gameplay that we've seen. Then they're in my top 5.
Yeah, I'm
like really go. Sorry,
I'm very impressed. Just quick look, my first impression, and I try to put myself in the shoes of someone that's never seen it before, doesn't know a lot about Web3. They look at this passes the smell test of like how you want to engage somebody that knows nothing about Web3, in my opinion.
Yeah. Listen to that interview. I think it's episode 6 or 7. I don't know. You'll find it if you look around. ChronoForge interview. I think the guy's name's Lachlan. He goes by, I can't remember, something.
Founder Dogberto?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
Just a super smart guy. He's really, like, you can tell, just the conversation we had, I was really impressed with him. Really switched on guy. And that's why I've got a lot of belief in the game as well. You need to have that kind of person leading a project to choose the right chain, to hire the right people, to focus on your energies. It's not, as we always say, it's so hard to build a game. You need a leader, not a game leader. He was a project manager, so he's project, managed big multi-million-dollar projects before, and that's not easy. 70% fail of all software in the whole world. 70% of software projects fail. 70% don't actually end up going live because of how hard it is to make software. There's lots of reasons why that, but a lot of the time it's financial and people going over budget and then getting pulled.
Right.
And I asked him, I pushed him on it. So like, if you're enough to get this out, because I know he hasn't got a lot of money, and he said that him and his partner are working for free on it. They're not taking any salary at all. Wow. And they've got a team from all over the world that are passionate about gaming. So that translated to me that they're working on a promise. So, and he said he's got enough money to get it out, to get it to launch. And I believe that it'll be a really, really successful game because it instantly log on, no dramas done.
There's
no NFTs.
AMA on October 20th with him. 47 minutes long. I just bookmarked it. I'm gonna go back and listen to that here eventually, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, keep an eye out on people's. If you're not aware of ChronoForge and you like ARPGs, it's a little gem. It's a secret little gem that's going to blow Web3 apart, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you let me know about it, because it definitely has got my interest peaked. So thanks for that, brother.
No worries. And now we can go to Gods Unchained. I hope you've done some research because I didn't do a lot. I am a player of it. I do play it, not every day.
You know, it's boy, where was it? I don't know much about God's Chain except it's a card game. It's the biggest one on IMX. Obviously, lots of volume on there, lots of participation, which is always good. It's an expansion. It's called Tides of Fate. From my understanding, the cards can be changed via these crystals now that combine with Mana Surge, and then you can spend the Mana Gems with a card that has the Mana Surge keyword. And then when you do all that, it upgrades your card. So very cool concept. I don't know a lot about it besides that. It just kind of looked like a new content for Gods Unchained, and you always like seeing new content added to games.
This is probably them out of beta now, I'd say. It's season 2 and it's 140 new cards, which it's a huge number of new cards, but they had 1,700 before this drop, so it's only like not even 10% more cards. So it's not that big in comparison to how many cards they got. They got nearly 2,000 cards in this game, mate.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of them will be like one-on-ones that are not allowed to play. So they, other than in show games.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what's that guy, I don't know. He's one of the biggest streamers of Gods Unchained. Did turn 1 win with this card that cost $100,000. He borrowed it from someone. Someone sent it to him from their wallet to him to play and show and to try to make this video, and then trusted him with $100,000 card.
Oh my gosh.
This scene's crazy, isn't it?
Probably that diamond miner guy from Africa that I met a long time ago.
Probably. I think it's Strong Ants actually. He owns a few sports cards, so I think he's not too worried about the $100,000. Wish I didn't have to worry about $100,000. But ultimately, it's new cards, new gods abilities. So each god has, there's 6 gods, and they all have. You can choose from 3 abilities at the start of the game. You can only have 1 of their abilities. I think so. They've got new abilities. It's a huge change, meta change. Like I haven't played it since those cards are available yet. I played last weekend, not this weekend, because I went away this weekend. Mm-hmm. Each weekend when you play Gods Unchained, you're in a tournament, like it's called Weekend Ranked, and if you get, depending on your rank, you get a set of how many. Okay, so there's different ranks you can be in based on like your MMR, how your ranking based on how much you win and how much you lose.
All right.
And then what bracket you're in. When it comes to Weekend Ranked, it says, okay, well, you can, if you win 10 games out of 18, you win this. If you win 11 games out of 18, you win these packs. So the higher rank you are, the better value packs you can win. But so it's kind of exciting game. Like it's just a little bit too long. I'd like to pay for an hour rather than 2 hours, like each day to play it. That's probably why I don't play it as much, because it's just too long. I don't have 2 hours every day to play card games. But when it's on mobile... When it's on mobile, which is soon, when Passport comes out, probably January, February next year, the mobile version of it will come out, and I'll play every day then.
Very cool.
But Across the Ages is catching up to it, as claiming to be the number 1 game. Like it definitely is number 1 at the moment, but Across the Ages, in terms of growth, it's growing. It's stagnated at about 19,000 NFT owners and about 200,000 downloads for the game. So.
I did download that game to my phone. I briefly looked at it. I want to spend some more time with it. Just my time has been just crunched lately. But I plan on checking that one out also. Across the Ages, it's definitely looks it's a lot simpler. Polished.
It's polished, but it's a lot. I think it's harder to learn, easier to master than the right way. Gods Unchained's hard to learn. Like harder to learn, but you can get going from the start. You know what I mean? Like it's you can get going and kind of get the gist of it from the start, and then you learn little things as you go that are critical. Across the ages, if you don't understand the game at the start, it's like you don't have a clue what you're doing, and it takes. But once you get it, I'm assuming once you build that knowledge, you got to learn, the break paper, rock, scissors sort of style of it, and a few little things. I think there's not too much to it, so it's a lot simpler game, and it's a lot shorter. It's 6 minutes a game, mate. Gods Unchained can go for 20 minutes for one game.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Quality of life improvement there. Yeah, when I looked at Across the Ages, that was the first impression I got. I spent 10 minutes kind of looking at it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need to go look up some videos to find out what to do, because I'm a little lost. So I could tell what you mean by, like, it's a little tough to get, but once you get it, the games are quick.
Cool. I wanted to, before we go on to the final talking point, I wanted to talk about Illuvium.
How's that doing? I haven't checked on that in a while.
Yeah, so they announced that there's another game coming out. So they built four major projects, like the 3 games, the Arena, the Overland, and the City Builder. Then also the Beyond, the collector's game, the gamified collector's game Beyond, where you collect hundreds and hundreds of cards and fill out your album like you're doing, with physicals.
Okay.
Lizards has made this program, where you can go in and compete and find like an opponent, and you open up your discs or your packs, and you have a pack opening off, and whoever's got the best card wins, sort of thing. So they built this little game, like a game inside the game, which is really interesting because they haven't been selling discs much, but this is a way to get people to, you could have little events that entice people to open discs at, play little tournaments, and then therefore people are going to buy discs. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's really smart. They delayed the release of Wave 3 till after the game comes out, which is, I think they was going through a vote, but I think it's a smart decision. Personally, I wouldn't have had it unless they needed the money. I wouldn't have done Beyond until the game come out anyway. But
right,
I've got my Wave 1 and 2 cards and some hollows and stuff, so I'll keep those and see if Illuvium blows up, they could be worth a lot of money in the future. So we'll see. But also, I came across something else that they updated just recently, the 15th of October. It's a little bit old, but Australia brought in this law about games and having tokens, and like it was just crippling for it pretty much meant that games couldn't have their token pretty much paid out to players. It literally would end. It would make it impossible. The fees and the risk and all that stuff. It literally, the law was to protect consumers, but it just, what they say, innovation stifling. That's what the law is. Australia's just known for it. That's all we ever do. We just stifle innovation all the time with bureaucracy. And so they've looks like they've moved their headquarters to Dubai.
Oh wow!
Illuvium, yeah. Well, they've applied for it. And they're under evaluation. So they've got a fair few of their team members, builders in Dubai. I think 6, and they're moving it. So they've applied to have, because and they mentioned the legislation out there is way favourable and doesn't stifle innovation. So very interesting.
I know what that is all about here in the U.S., man. Trust me, I know all about it. I can't tell you how much the SEC here has protected me, and I say protected in quotes, and cost me quite a bit of money from that protection. It's
yeah.
And then I got to watch these companies move shop to Vietnam or other places that are over in Asia for the most part that are allowing it. So it's like my little tagline is, good people and money goes where it's treated well. Well, it's the same thing with business. If you're going to treat a business bad, they won't survive. So they'll go where they can survive and thrive, and it's the same concept.
Yeah. So interesting. Well, we will see what happens with that. If there's a Australian senator that's trying really hard to get the law in, and his proposals got rejected. As usual.
Right.
They made too much sense, and no one could skim off the top. So
What? They do that? You're kidding me. So, but did you get a chance to see the Between Two Layers this week by chance?
I did watch it in the background with like it was there was the first part. Robbie was only on for a real short period of time, and then they had that interview with two guys, Jonah Blake and that gamer who's thinks Yuga Labs is going to be the gaming future. Okay, and Corby World, their interview, and then it came back to Robbie for a minute. So, did you pick up on anything in that
Yeah,
was
I
interesting?
the guy, some guy named Orangey and Jonah Blake was on there. We talked about this earlier about how like they didn't even mention IMX at all. They had a really good conversation. It was mainly about uh, pretty much Web3 theory of what's going to work and what's not, and what games are going to work and what's not. And they talked about Web2 games and stuff, but like there was no mention of IMX at all. Like it was like, all right, why are you guys here
I don't
again?
understand that. You're on an immutable podcast, and you talk about gaming chain, and you mention Ronan as the leader, and not immutable. Like Ronan's got less than 20 games. 14 of them are made by indie devs building Axie side game, little mini games.
Mm-hmm.
And Immutable has 220 fully funded, well funded, sorry, games building on their ecosystem. You
Yep.
know, like what went up, and they've got all those tools. Ah, we've been over it all before. And I just don't understand. Like that guy, especially, he thinks he knows everything about. He's the representative of Web3. Thinks he knows everything about Web3, and he just fades Immutable every day. Like he puts out those newsletters. He put out a list the other day of all these amazing things that happen in Web3. It's like a list of 30 or 40 things, and it didn't have anything at all that was related to Immutable.
Nothing about the huge Amazon partnership at all probably had his
Nothing,
attention.
nothing at all. Nothing about the games they've won. Nothing about the tools they've built. Nothing about anything at all. Look what's happening on Web3, and Immutable's just partnered with AWS building specific tools for Web3 games that'll make people onboarding even easier and cheaper, and also gives 100 grand funding to them so that they can get building quicker and less risk of failure.
Mm-hmm.
At least you don't have to that's 100 grand. You don't have to get out your pocket. You can that's a couple of months of runway.
Yeah. Yeah.
For some mid indie games.
It's amazing how other big players in the space are not talking about that more. I'm just flabbergasted. Even the ones that clearly don't like Immutable X, you would think they would be like, oh, well, we probably should mention this because it's pro the space. It's a big name tying to a platform infrastructure. You would think you would be celebrating that just for the entire space and not just
Yeah,
because it's not in your tribe, you know?
yeah. What do you said something else about that? What was that?
Uh, with Orangey and Jonah?
About Yeah, it was about the between two layers. I've gone blank. You
No,
said
that's
something really
fine.
cool.
No, they were just talking about Web 2 games that have worked and how it can work with Web 3 and what was going to make it out and what isn't. It was a good conversation, but like I wasn't as engaged in it because I was like, when are you guys going to talk about Immutable X? And they weren't. So some
Mm.
other good things out of it. Robbie was on and he was talking about his recent trip and some of the 100 biggest names in gaming that he was basically rubbing shoulders with. And I like seeing that, talking to these people. And three in specific, he talked about these were big names. Shangang Kim, Brendan Green, and Ken Cron. These are all CEOs. Shanghai Kim was with Crafton, and they're creating a Web3 game called Migaloo. I don't know much about it, but it's like a mature version of Roblox. I know Roblox is big. You got thoughts on that?
I think I know that one. They're building that on Cosmos, not on Immutable, by the way. So,
I didn't
which
know that.
is really, yeah. That's is that the PUBG guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So they're building like a modern Roblox on,
I think
yeah,
he is.
interesting.
I think he is. There's Brendan Green's the founder of PUBG. he's building a Web3 game, but there was no specifics given. But when I looked up,
Yeah,
when I looked up Kim, he had some ties to PUBG also. And then Ken Kron is the ex-CEO from Blizzard Activision, and he is heavily going into Web3. So maybe they're not with Immutable X yet, hopefully. They're looking at Web3, and these are three of the big titans in the Web2 space looking at Web3. And Robbie's premise was like, big people, while they're not in it directly yet, or maybe they are directly in it, they are trying to figure it out so that they can capitalize on it. There's a lot of interest around it that we don't see.
and just was that the episode where they talked about the 60 of the biggest games?
Well, they mentioned that before, but he was talking about again. He said 100 of the biggest names in gaming were at this place, and he said half of them were definitely interested, looking into, or actually involved into Web3 gaming right now.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I should have done a bit more research on this one. Blame my wife taking me on holidays.
No, it's all right, Blue. It's all right. Hey, we all got real lives.
Sounds like I need to go listen to it. I do. You know, it's funny. I do remember. I did listen to it, but I wasn't focused on until Jonah Blake. For some reason, I remember that he faded Immutable the whole entire
he did.
interview where,
well,
he didn't even mention them once.
Yeah,
not once. Not even. Oh my god! Like I did pay enough attention to recognize that. So that's all.
It was weird.
Remember,
it was weird because it's an IMX cast. Carly is always talking about IMX on her platform between two layers. And they were like in their own little world, and it was like they just like IMX didn't even exist, and it was just like, all right, great conversation. What does this have to do with IMX again?
It's like, why would you mention some B tier chain for when you're talking about gaming chain?
Yeah.
When you're on the Mutable platform, when you're on the Mutable podcast, like if you're not interested in, Immutable for whatever reason, don't go on their podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my whinge over. I've been a bit whingy today, haven't I?
Nah, that's all right.
I'm back.
All right. It happens.
I'm back from the beach, mate, and it's I've got work tomorrow. It's Sunday here, Sunday night, not Saturday. So I'm having a bit of a whinge, mate. Thank you, listeners, for putting up with my whinging and being my therapy for the day. I'm ready for work now.
Right. One of the other notable things, and we've heard this before, and I've known this for a while too, but like, it's very apparent from what Rob was saying. The main focus is on Asia. They are laser focused on Asia, and that's good. It's good. That's where the volume is. And he was talking about Japan and Korea. They've got the biggest spenders. Obviously, it's big in China with participation-wise stuff, but like participation and spending-wise, it's about Japan and then Korea. So I found that information pretty interesting as well. And you can't fault the direction they're going, in my opinion, because you got to. It's survival, It's survival, and they got to go where the business is, and so I'm glad they're going that direction. I wouldn't want them to be focused in the U.S. right now because it's not good here at the moment.
That's an whole nother subject, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but that's pretty much it. Carly had this giant ring on her finger. I don't know if you knew, she recently got married, but she had a huge ring, and I was like, dang, look at that thing. So I sent her a tweet. I don't know if she'll respond to it. I was took a picture of it, blew it up. I was like, that's a nice ring you got there.
I think is there anything else you want to talk about this week? Well, it's been happening. It's been a bit quiet, hasn't it? A little bit. Like there's lots happening, but I'm at that point where I just want games to come out. Yeah,
the other big news is that I seen was they relocked the $125 million, or not 125 million, 125 million IMX tokens. They locked them even longer till minimum July of 2024. And I see why they did that, and it's good for the community. And that's pretty much all I've seen this week in Immutable X land.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I've got a bit of work to do to catch up again. You know, get on the news articles. Got to come out. It's supposed to be tomorrow. I'm working on a new ecosystem map because it's a bit out of date. The latest one by a fair bit now. So yeah, next week when we do the show, we'll hopefully have a little bit more. Hopefully have another guest soon to talk to as well. I'm working on some people, and I heard you are too. So
Yes.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. I think that'll do us today. I hope you have a good week, everyone, and you too, mate.
All right. You too. Everybody, take care.
Take care. Bye.